Hi, good morning all. In today's session we talk about the Spring Boot key features. Okay, earlier we see about the what is the Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is a framework where that framework allow us to fasten development that provide multiple pre-written or a pre-cooked code. So using that code we can write the software faster way. So in a today's session we talk about the what is the Spring Boot, Spring versus Spring Boot, how we can do the fasten development with the Spring Boot, how to configure inbuilt server and how it work for us. The Spring Starter auto compression, how it did, and how it allow us to do the easy DP integration. So this is the today's content thing. So Spring Boot we talk about, this is faster development provided. Apart from that, most of the code is already pre-cooked or pre-written and pre-tested, so no need to rewrite that code. Apart from that, if you check that, like a Spring Boot, it's not comparing with the Spring and the Spring MVC. It provides us to use these two things together in a faster way. Okay, that means together in a faster way, that means this is a Spring Boot. Okay, Spring Boot is a different entity which allow us to use the Spring and Spring MVC together with the faster way. Apart from that, Spring framework provides us the dependency injection, and all the Spring model provide the dependency injection over the IOC. Okay, what is means by dependency injection? Suppose this is a class A and a class A depend on the class A required a class B and a class C. Okay, so what happened? The inversion of control means you are providing a control to the Spring Boot. So Spring Boot, you are providing that control to Spring Boot. You can I am providing a control over to you, so you can go and create the object on behalf of me, and you can assign that object. That is means of inversion of control. Your control, ideally it's your responsibility to create the object, but means Java provided a control over to you that you can go and create the object, but you are doing the control to the Spring Boot hand and saying that Spring Boot go and create the object on behalf of me. That means that is the inversion of control. Okay, and dependency injection means, so ABC, these are the three classes, and now the creation of that ABC is the responsibility of a Spring Boot. Okay, but Spring firstly do all the checkups in a code, and he will check that which depended on which object. So here B and C is required to the A creation. That means firstly Spring Boot go and create a B object, then go and create a C object, inject both the object here, and then create a C object. Okay, so Spring Boot decide the flow how object should get created and injects the dependency. That means dependency injection and IOC. That's the core of a Spring, but that by default came with the Spring Boot. Okay, apart from that, here we say that Spring Boot does not compete with the Spring and Spring MVC. It allow us to use to easily. Okay, so in a Spring MVC, if you know that there are three concepts, like this is a UI request to the first at a Spring application. There is a dispatcher servlet who decides where that request should be redirected. Okay, apart from that, whatever data is provided here, that get resolved on a model view. That means the object is a transfer into model view, and it sent to the process, and whenever response came back, that based upon the data, view get resolved, and that view pushed to the back to UI, and UI get rendered. Okay, so here dispatcher servlet, model view, and view resolver, three things are came into picture. Okay, this is just a high level thing. If you want more details about three things, let me know. We'll create another video on Spring MVC. But yeah, these three things Spring Boot also manage very efficiently. Okay, so in a Spring Boot, it's a combination of a Spring. Okay, multiple Spring technologies or a Spring tools. Okay, first we check what provide in a Spring, and that get copied automatically in a Spring Boot. So in a Spring, core things automatically get you in a Spring Boot: bin initialization, context initialization, and accept oriented programming. All these by default came with the Spring Boot, so we can directly utilize. Apart from just we talk about the Spring MVC, so that we can achieve with the Spring Boot. The JSON binding, like response, the UI sends the data into JSON, and we are returning again that data into JSON, so it get automatically handled. No need to do that. With the just @REST template annotation, everything is done JSON binding. Apart from that, hibernation and API validation also done with the annotation. By defaultly in our Spring application, Tomcat get automatically injected, so no need to worry about. Okay, so if you are have an idea about the Spring, in a Spring you need to explicitly add your web application server prepare the war file or a jar file, put it into your Java Tomcat, and then your application gets started. But in a Spring Boot, no nothing. It directly automatically Tomcat get injected in your app, and by default it start on 8080 with the desired application context path. Okay, locking by default it provides the log4j and SL4j integration. So we just need to configure at the application property level. By default logging gets started. Okay, we'll check one by one how it's happen. So faster development, we know that Spring initializer is there. So if you like start.spring.io, if you hit that, so you will get a one UI where you need to just select what are the dependency you want, select that and hit the generate command. So you will get a one zip file, extract that zip file and source it into your Eclipse, and that Eclipse you will get all the things like pom.xml also there, Spring Starter also there, Spring Starter.java is a file is there, and the application file is there. So if you run this file, your application gets started on a 8080 port by default. Okay, so it's that simple. Just go on a Spring initializer, select the dependency, download that zip file, extract it and run.spring.java. Your application gets started on 8080. To do this code into Spring or in JDBC JSP and servlet, you will took more than half day. So that's why it's very faster to run or write a code into Spring initialization. If you check the pom.xml earlier what we downloaded from the website, so you will find out that this is a Tomcat is a dependency automatically injected into pom.xml. That's why your application started on 8080 with the Tomcat. Okay, like localhost 8080 and your application name, my app kind of name. So that's why it's get automatically injected here. Apart from that, Spring Boot Starter, earlier we talked, when you download go on the website like Spring initialization, download that zip file, you will firstly basically find this springboot.java file, then you will find out one pom.xml file and next file is a application property. So by default these files are there, and this starter file which is a Java file where only one thing, public static void main, your applications get started with that thing. Okay, apart from that auto configuration thing. Okay, so if you want to embed the database in and prepare the connection everything in a JDBC or servlet JSP, you need to write a ton of classes, more than 8 to 9 classes is required. In a Spring you need to define application property, XML mapping with that, then you need to prepare the transaction, open that connection, write that query, everything you need to write. But in a Spring Boot you just need to create the JDBC template and provide the files to and set the files like set type and add description you need to do. Your application get configurable with this DDL SQL and data.sql that automatically get run on a H2 type database. So it's that simple. With this whenever application start, it check the database DDL is there or not, and that data is there or not. If not, that get imported into database. Okay, that's so simple to auto configure your database. Okay, next thing is the Spring data. Okay, so if you aware about the flow, the UI call our controller and controller call to the R service layer call our JPA layer or a database layer. Okay, database code layer, and then its call actually go to the data into database, like a DAO layer I can call, or a DAO or a JPA layer you can call it. So what is meant a JPA? Means Java Persistent API. That API allow us to write the data very fast. And if you want to do basic CRUD operation, you just need to define one interface implementing the CRUD repository. Nothing code you need to write. By default, Spring or a JPA writes the query for you, store the data, pull the data, delete the data, filter the data, everything handled and Spring itself. Okay, so by default with the relational databases RDBMS, Spring provided multiple three things. First is the CRUD repository, pagination and a sortable, that kind of repository provided by Spring. Okay, in RDBMS, Oracle, MySQL, MyBatis, all that databases get covered. For NoSQL database, there is a Spring Data Mongo JPA is there. So using that you can connect with the MongoDB or any NoSQL database and perform the collection operation, add collection, update collection, delete collection, all the things you can perform. Apart from that, REST API also there. So it's very fast to implement the code. So if you want to code if you want to build any application, create, read, update and delete with these commands, you within a 10 to 15 minutes you can write the code and deploy or any application with the Spring Boot. Okay, that's that much faster provided by Spring Boot. If you want more details about this, let me know. We'll create a different section with the practical example for this. Yeah, thanks all, bye.